The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at the United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva. The massive holographic display in the central command room flickered to life, showing an ornate scroll written in shimmering alien script that translated itself into all Earth languages simultaneously. After 50 years of human space exploration, the Galactic Council had finally extended their invitation. Admiral Thomas stood watching the message with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face revealing nothing of his thoughts. Beside him, General Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably, her eyes narrowing at the elaborate diplomatic language of the invitation. "They've been watching us all along," Thomas said quietly. 50 years of our expansion into space, and only now they decide to acknowledge us." The room fell silent as President Wilson entered, accompanied by Ambassador James Walker. Walker was tall and dignified, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen 2 decades of successful peace negotiations on Earth. His selection as humanity's representative had been unanimous. "Mr. Ambassador," the President said, "you understand what's at stake here." Walker nodded, studying the spinning hologram of the Galactic Council's massive space station, where the meeting would take place. "If they've waited this long to contact us, they've been evaluating us. The question is, did we pass their test, or are we being called in for judgment?" In the following weeks, preparations moved at a careful pace. While the public celebrated humanity's invitation to join the galactic community, military leaders met in secret bunkers deep beneath the Earth's surface. They knew something that the public didn't. Long-range sensors had detected unusual movements of alien fleets near the edges of human space. Walker sat patiently as technicians installed his diplomatic neural implant, a standard device for all human representatives that recorded and transmitted their experiences back to Earth. What wasn't standard was the hidden military-grade hardware woven into its circuits, a last-resort measure that the Council would never detect. "The implant will record everything," the lead technician explained, "but it also has some additional features. If things go wrong, it will activate protocol thermopylae automatically." Walker didn't ask for details. Some things were better not known until necessary. The day of departure arrived with great ceremony. The diplomatic vessel Earth's Hope gleamed in the morning sun, its sleek design deliberately modest to avoid appearing threatening. As Walker boarded, Admiral Thomas pulled him aside for one final conversation. "James," he said, using the ambassador's first name for the first time, "there's something you need to know. Those colonies we've been building, the peaceful mining operations and research stations scattered across 20 star systems." Walker raised an eyebrow. "What about them?" "They're not exactly what they appear to be. If anything happens to you—" Thomas paused, choosing his words carefully. "Let's just say humanity isn't as defenseless as we've led the galaxy to believe." The journey to the Council station took 3 weeks. Walker spent the time studying reports about the known Council species, the ancient primarchs who claimed to have seeded life throughout the galaxy, the warrior philosopher Meridians, and dozens of others. Each report ended with the same warning. All of them viewed younger species with varying degrees of contempt. As Earth's Hope approached the massive Council station, Walker stood at the viewport, watching the structure grow larger. It was an enormous wheel of gleaming metal, housing representatives from over 100 spacefaring civilizations. Beautiful, but also intimidating. Exactly as intended. "Ambassador," his aide said softly, "we're receiving the docking protocols." Walker straightened his formal black uniform, touching the small Earth flag pin on his collar. Whatever waited inside that station, he would face it with the dignity and strength that humanity had shown throughout its history. But as he walked toward the airlock, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Galactic Council's invitation wasn't entirely what it seemed. Behind him, Earth's Hope's captain sent one final encrypted message back to Earth. "The wolf is entering the lion's den. Stand ready." The Council chamber stretched up into darkness, its curved walls lined with hundreds of floating platforms where alien representatives sat in judgment. Ambassador Walker stood on the central platform, a small circle of light in the vast space. Above him, the eldest Primarch, a towering figure with silvery skin, looked down with eyes that had watched civilizations rise and fall. The human species, the Primarch's voice echoed, requests full membership in the Galactic Council. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Present your case, Ambassador Walker. Walker activated his presentation display, showing Earth's achievements. Their rapid advancement in space travel, peaceful colonies established across 20 systems, and successful trade relationships with frontier species. His voice remained steady and diplomatic, carefully chosen words echoing through the chamber. Humanity brings innovation, determination, and a deep desire for peaceful cooperation, Walker said. Our species has overcome its violent past and lies. The shout came from the Meridian section. A massive figure covered in iridescent scales rose from its platform. We have watched your kind for centuries. You claim peace while building weapons. You speak of cooperation while preparing for war. Walker kept his composure, though his heart raced. Every species maintains defensive capabilities. The galaxy can be dangerous. Show them, the Primarch commanded. The chamber darkened, and new images appeared. Hidden military installations beneath human colonies, encrypted communications between Earth's fleets, stockpiles of weapons carefully concealed from orbital scans. These images, Walker said carefully, show only our basic security measures. Every member of this council maintains similar. Silence. The Primarch's voice cracked like thunder. We have seen enough. Your kind expands too quickly, adapts too readily, hides too well. In merely 50 years, you have spread across 20 systems. In another 50, who knows what threats you might pose. Walker felt the situation slipping away. His neural implant sent a spike of warning back to Earth. Honorable Council, you misunderstand our intentions. Humanity's strength has always been its ability to. We understand perfectly. A new voice cut in. A Meridian elder floated forward, its scales shifting from blue to red. Your species is too dangerous to exist freely in this galaxy. You hide your true nature behind walls of deception. Even now, your colonies are more fortified than you admit. The council chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Walker stood his ground, though he noticed security drones moving closer to his platform. His implant was running hot now, transmitting everything back to Earth at maximum speed. If the council has already judged us, Walker said, his voice cutting through the chaos, then why invite us here at all? The Primarch rose to its full height, silver skin gleaming, to show the galaxy what happens to species that think they can deceive this council. Your kind believes they are clever, hiding their military growth behind diplomatic smiles. We have seen this before, and we have learned to stop such threats early. Walker's platform suddenly locked in place. Security fields sprang up around him as alien guards approached. But he stood straight, facing the Primarch with unwavering eyes. Whatever you plan to do, Walker said clearly, knowing his words were being transmitted to Earth, remember this, humanity has never started a war. He paused, meeting the Primarch's gaze. But we have finished everyone we fought. The chamber grew deadly quiet. In that silence, Walker's neural implant sent its final coded message to Earth. Protocol Thermopylae. They fear us more than we knew. The wolf was right to hide its teeth. The Primarch's voice was cold. Take him to the judgment chamber. Let his execution be a warning to all who would hide their true nature from this council. As the guard seized him, Walker smiled slightly. They had just made the biggest mistake in council history. They had shown humanity exactly what kind of galaxy they were dealing with. The judgment chamber was a perfect circle of white metal, designed to broadcast executions across all council space. Ambassador Walker stood in its center, held upright by invisible force fields, as thousands of alien spectators watched from their safe distances. His black Earth uniform remained crisp and neat despite everything they had done to break him. The Primarch's voice boomed through the chamber. Let all species witness the price of deception. Humanity hid its true nature from us, but they cannot hide from justice. Walker's neural implant burned hot against his skull, transmitting every moment back to Earth. He knew what was coming. The Council's preferred method of execution was as old as their civilization, a field of burning energy that would consume the condemned slowly, meant to show the galaxy the price of defiance. "Any final words, human?" the Meridian Elder asked, scales gleaming with anticipation. Walker lifted his head, looking directly into the broadcast sensors. He knew every human world would see this. His voice was steady as he spoke. "Remember what we truly are. Not what we pretend to be, not what we showed of others, but what history has made us. Remember and respond accordingly." The Primarch raised its hand. "Begin the judgment." Blue fire erupted around Walker's feet. The energy field was designed to burn slowly, to make the execution last exactly 10 minutes. As the flames began to climb, Walker's neural implant kicked into its final protocol. Back on Earth, in the deep bunkers of military command, screens lit up with data. Walker's implant wasn't just recording, it was transmitting everything. His vital signs, his neural patterns, his pain, and most importantly, detailed scans of the Council Station's defenses. The flames reached his knees. Walker didn't scream. His eyes remained fixed on the cameras, transmitting his unflinching gaze to every human watching. The Council species muttered among themselves, disturbed by his silence. "You should beg for mercy," the Meridian Elder said, floating closer. "All the others do." Walker smiled through the pain. "Humanity doesn't beg. We remember." The fire climbed higher. Walker's neural implant was running so hot it nearly burned through his skull, but it kept transmitting. Every detail of the Council's security systems, every weakness in their defenses, every bit of data that might help humanity's response, all of it flowed back to Earth in a torrent of information. 7 minutes into the execution, Walker began to speak again, not in English, but in Latin. The ancient words echoed through the chamber. "Si vis pacem, parabellum." The Primarch leaned forward. "What does he say?" A junior aide translated, "If you want peace, prepare for war." The flames reached Walker's chest. His uniform had burned away, but his posture remained straight, defiant. The implant's transmission peaked, sending its final burst of data. Complete scans of the station's power grid, shield frequencies, and defensive capabilities. In his last moments, Walker's mind filled with images of Earth, its blue oceans, green forests, and the hidden strength his people had built while pretending to be nothing more than peaceful explorers. He knew what would come next. The Council thought this execution would cow humanity into submission. They were wrong. As the flames reached his face, Walker's last words cut through the chamber. "Remember what we are." The neural implant sent its final signal, a single code that would trigger humanity's response. Thermopylae activated. Then Ambassador James Walker, Earth's first and last diplomat to the Galactic Council, burned to ash in alien fire while his killers watched with satisfaction, believing they had eliminated a threat. In the silence that followed, the Primarch spoke solemnly. "Let this be a lesson to all young species who would hide their military ambitions from the Council." But in the vast darkness of space, hundreds of hidden human ships were already receiving their activation codes. The Council had just started a war they didn't understand, with an enemy they had fatally underestimated. Admiral Thomas stood in Earth's Central Command as Walker's execution played on the main screen. Around him, military leaders from every nation watched in silence. The moment the transmission ended, the room erupted into action. "Protocol Thermopylae is active," Thomas announced, his voice cutting through the noise. "All hidden fleets report status." The massive display changed, showing hundreds of green dots appearing across human space. What the Council had thought were simple mining stations and research outposts revealed their true nature. Armored panels slid away from asteroid bases, revealing state-of-the-art warships. Research stations transformed into heavily armed fortresses. General Rodriguez stepped forward, her tablet displaying Walker's final data burst. The ambassador's implant transmitted everything. We have their shield frequencies, defense layouts, and command protocols. He gave us the keys to their kingdom. In orbit around Mars, the largest of humanity's hidden shipyards opened its massive doors. The geological survey ships, inside were actually advanced destroyers, their weapons concealed beneath false hulls. On Europa, what appeared to be ice drilling platforms were launch sites for humanity's most advanced missiles. All fleet commanders, Thomas broadcast across the secure channel. You have your targets. The Council thought they were judging us. Now we show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Across human space, ships dropped their civilian disguises. Mining lasers transformed into weapon arrays. Cargo holds opened to reveal squadrons of fighters. Every human colony, which the Council had dismissed as primitive and defenseless, activated its hidden defenses. In Geneva, the United Earth government convened an emergency session. The vote was unanimous. Total war. President Wilson addressed the human worlds, his words broadcast to every colony and outpost. Today, the Galactic Council showed us their true nature. They executed our ambassador, thinking it would force us into submission. They believed we were hiding our military strength out of deception. The truth is simpler. We hid our strength because we genuinely wanted peace. The first attacks began within hours. Human ships, using data from Walker's implant, struck Council military installations with surgical precision. Defense networks fell silent. Communication relays went dark. The Council's carefully organized military response found itself fighting an enemy that knew all their protocols. On Titan, what the Council had registered as a small research facility revealed itself as humanity's largest military command center. General Rodriguez stood in its war room, coordinating attacks across 50 light-years of space. "Status report," she commanded. "First wave successful," her aide reported. 27 Council military bases neutralized. No civilian casualties. Their response ships are being redirected by false commands using their own protocols. In orbit around Jupiter, humanity's true flagship emerged from its camouflage dock. The massive vessel, named Walker's Memory, carried weapons that the Council had thought impossible for such a young species to develop. Admiral Thomas took command of the ship personally. "Send word to all human forces. Operation Leonidas is now active. Show them why humanity has survived every threat we've ever faced." The Council's first counterattack fell apart when they discovered their tactical databases had been compromised. Every defense protocol, every emergency procedure, every contingency plan. Walker's implant had captured them all during his execution. In the Council chamber, now in chaos, the Primarch received the first reports of human military strength. The numbers were impossible. The technology levels were beyond what any young species should possess. The coordination and planning spoke of centuries of preparation, not decades. "How?" the Primarch demanded. "How did they hide all this?" A junior aide's voice shook as they answered. "They didn't hide their strength, Honored One. They hid their potential. We weren't watching a primitive species develop. We were watching humanity hold back." The Meridian War Fleet gathered at their home system's edge, 5,000 ships strong. Their admiral watched the tactical display with confidence. No young species could stand against such power. Then the human ships arrived. Instead of a matching fleet, only 3 vessels appeared. The Meridian admiral laughed. "They send 3 ships against 5,000. This is what happens when primitives play at war." The human vessels broadcast a single message: "Remember Walker." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. The 3 human ships launched what appeared to be simple missiles. The Meridian fleet ignored them, their shields ready for much larger weapons. But these weren't missiles. They were advanced AI drone carriers, each one split into thousands of tiny fighters, all carrying Walker's data about Meridian shield frequencies. The small drones slipped through the shields as if they weren't there. Impossible, the Meridian Admiral shouted as the first 100 ships went dark. The drones had invaded their computer systems, shutting down life support, weapons, and engines. Without firing a single shot, the humans had disabled a fifth of the fleet. On the flagship Walker's Memory, Admiral Thomas watched the battle unfold. "Humanity learned warfare the hard way," he said to his crew. "Through centuries of conflict on Earth, we learned that the biggest fleet doesn't always win. The smartest one does." The remaining Meridian ships tried to fight back, but they found their weapons wouldn't fire. During Walker's execution, his neural implant had captured more than just shield frequencies. It had recorded their entire command protocol system. General Rodriguez, coordinating from Titan Base, sent the next phase into action. Hidden human bases throughout Council space activated special devices they'd buried years ago. These machines didn't fire weapons. They simply blocked faster-than-light travel in strategic areas. Council reinforcements found themselves trapped in normal space, taking weeks to reach battles that were over in hours. The Council's carefully planned military response fell apart as their ships arrived at empty battlefields, their targets long gone. Report from the Primarch's home system. A communications officer announced on Walker's Memory. "Their orbital defenses are still searching for our fleet." Thomas smiled. "And our actual position?" "Already inside their defense grid, sir. They're looking for large warships, not the small transport containers we disguised our ships as, just as you planned 5 years ago." The Council's military leaders finally realized the truth. Every peaceful trade route humanity had established was a potential invasion path. Every civilian transport protocol they'd shared had been studied for military use. Even the commercial shipping containers humanity used had been designed to hide warships. In the Primarch's command center, alerts flashed as system after system went silent. Not destroyed. The humans weren't killing needlessly, but completely disabled. "How are they doing this?" the Primarch demanded. A military advisor explained with growing horror. "Their ships are using our own command codes, learned from Walker's implant. But the strategies, these aren't panic attacks or revenge strikes. These are carefully planned operations. They've had these plans for years." On Earth, President Wilson addressed the human worlds again. "The Council thought our peaceful expansion was a sign of weakness. They never understood that peace wasn't our only option. It was our preferred choice. They mistook our restraint for limitation, our patience for fear, and our diplomacy for weakness." The Meridian Fleet's admiral watched helplessly as the last of his ships went dark. The 3 human vessels hadn't fired a single traditional weapon. They hadn't needed to. His final report to the Council was simple. "They do not fight like a young species. They fight like one that has known war for their entire history and learned from every battle." The Council's grand meeting chamber, once a place of order and power, had become a scene of chaos. Alien representatives argued and shouted as reports of human victories flooded in. The Primarch stood silent, watching emergency displays show more Council systems going dark. "The Meridian Fleet is gone," a junior aide announced. "Not destroyed, just stopped." The humans shut down 5,000 ships without killing a single crew member. The Meridian Elder's scales had turned pale gray with fear. "We must surrender before." "Silence," the Primarch roared. "We do not surrender to primitive." A new hologram appeared in the chamber center. President Wilson's image stood where Walker had faced judgment just days ago. His expression was calm, but his eyes were hard. "This message goes to all Council species," Wilson said. "In the past 72 hours, human forces have disabled the military capabilities of 30 major Council systems. We have not caused a single civilian death. This is not mercy. It is a demonstration." In Earth's Central Command, Admiral Thomas watched the Council's reactions through hacked security feeds. General Rodriguez stood beside him, reading reports from their fleets. "The Centauri sector is secured," she reported. "The Council's main supply lines are under our control. Their remaining ships are trapped in normal space, unable to reach their destinations. Thomas nodded, and Walker's memory. In position above the Council capital world. Their sensors still can't detect it through our stealth systems. The Primarch tried to organize a response, but more Council members were demanding surrender. The warrior-philosopher race of Meridians, once proud supporters of the Council's strength, were the first to formally submit. "We recognize humanity's total victory," their elder announced. "We request terms." President Wilson's hologram smiled slightly. "There is only one term: unconditional surrender. The Council, as you knew it, is finished." More species began to surrender. They had seen enough. Humanity had taken apart their defenses like a master engineer dismantling a simple machine. The humans knew all their secrets, all their weaknesses, all their strategies, and had planned counters for each one. In a desperate move, the Primarch ordered their last hidden fleet to attack Earth directly. The massive armada of 2,000 ships emerged from secret bases, heading for humanity's homeworld. They never arrived. "Show them," Thomas commanded. Around Earth, space itself seemed to ripple. Hidden defense platforms, built into asteroids and camouflaged as space debris, activated their weapons. Not the simple energy weapons the Council knew, but gravity weapons that humans had developed in secret. The entire attack fleet found itself trapped in artificial gravity wells, unable to move or fight. From Earth, it looked like a new constellation had appeared, a warning written in starlight. "The Council believed we were showing our full strength during our expansion," Wilson's hologram continued. "The truth is, we showed you what we wanted you to see. Every trade deal we made let us study your technology. Every diplomatic meeting taught us your weaknesses. Every peaceful gesture was genuine. But it was also preparation." In the Council chamber, the Primarch finally understood. They had judged humanity as primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. Instead, humans had been master strategists, showing exactly the image they wanted the Council to see. "Why?" the Primarch asked. "Why hide all this power behind a mask of peace?" Wilson's answer was simple: "Because we genuinely wanted peace. You could have had humanity as allies. Instead, you chose to make us your executioners. Ambassador Walker offered you friendship. His death showed us what kind of neighbors we really had." The Council chamber grew quiet as the remaining species submitted their surrenders one by one. In just 3 days, humanity had dismantled a galactic government that had stood for 10,000 years. And they had done it without starting a single traditional battle. 1 month after the Council's surrender, the same chamber that had witnessed Walker's condemnation held a very different gathering. Admiral Thomas stood at its center, where the execution field had once burned. Behind him, the Walker's memory hung visible through the chamber's vast windows, a reminder of humanity's power. "The old Council is dissolved," Thomas announced to the assembled alien representatives. "In its place, we established the Galactic Federation. The first law of this federation is simple: no species shall be judged by its age, but by its actions." The Primarch, no longer wearing the ornate robes of leadership, watched from a simple observer's platform. Around the chamber, holographic displays showed the changes humanity had already made. The execution chamber had been transformed into a memorial hall. Where Walker had burned, a perpetual flame now burned in an eternal honor guard. The walls displayed the full recording of his sacrifice, but also the history of every species the Council had wrongly judged. General Rodriguez, now appointed as Earth's first federal marshal, activated the chamber's main display. "Our investigators have found records of 17 other young species that the Council destroyed. Their worlds will be remembered, and their surviving colonies will be offered membership in the Federation." President Wilson's hologram appeared next. "Some of you have asked why we didn't simply destroy the Council species after their attack. The answer is simple: that would have made us exactly what they feared, conquerors who solve problems with destruction. Instead of elimination, humanity had chosen reconstruction. The former council races found their military capabilities restricted, but their civilian technologies and trade enhanced. Human engineers helped rebuild and improve their worlds, showing that Earth's technical abilities had been far beyond what they'd revealed. We hid our strength, Wilson continued, because we wanted to be judged by our character, not our capabilities. The Council failed that test. Now we offer what Ambassador Walker originally came here to propose. True cooperation. In orbit around Earth, a new station was under construction. Unlike the Council's intimidating fortress, this one was designed for openness and collaboration. Its central chamber would house representatives from all species, young and old alike. Admiral Thomas walked to where the Primarch sat. Your people ruled through fear of your power. We will rule through the strength of our principles. The Primarch nodded slowly. We thought we were wise, having seen civilizations rise and fall. But we never understood that age doesn't guarantee wisdom. No, Thomas agreed. Wisdom comes from learning from mistakes. Humanity learned from our bloody history. That's why we chose peace first. But we never forgot how to fight. Across former Council space, human ships began departing the systems they had conquered. But they left behind small stations, officially for emergency coordination. Everyone understood their real purpose, ensuring the peace would last. In the memorial hall, a group of young alien species representatives stood before Walker's eternal flame. They were from worlds the Council had marked for judgment, saved only by humanity's intervention. Your people showed us a different path, one of them said to General Rodriguez. Power without wisdom is dangerous, but wisdom without power cannot protect others. The ceremony concluded with a new tradition. Every species representative walked past Walker's memorial flame. As they passed, they received a small Earth flag pin, identical to the one Walker had worn. A reminder that humanity had risen not through conquest, but through the strength of their principles. President Wilson's final words echoed through the chamber. Let this be the Council's final lesson. They thought they were gods among younger races, but they forgot something crucial. It's not the age of a species that matters, but what they learned from their history. Humanity learned to be strong enough to choose peace, but ready for war. That is our gift and our warning to the galaxy. The eternal flame burned bright, a testament to one diplomat's sacrifice and humanity's rise from condemned primitives to guardians of galactic peace, not through conquest, but through the perfect balance of strength and wisdom that Earth had learned through centuries of war and peace.